spirited debate as always. It's always a pleasure, Riley. I'm just going to touch on a few key points here, and then we'll be finished. So first thing I want to touch on is that, yes, there was a historical need for nuclear weapons. Every country or every civilization, I would say, goes through the same periods of development. Some go through them faster than others, clearly with the difference between first and third world countries. And the nuclear age is something that we do need, and nuclear power is something that we will always continue to need unless we find a way to, say, have 100% pure solar conversion. But as far as the use of a weapon, it was something that was needed during the Cold War, but it is something that is no longer needed today. This is something that is simply outdated. It causes too much radioactivity, it causes too much damage to the planet, it destroys way too many life forms, and there is simply way too much risk that is involved. It is something that is barbaric that we no longer need in modern times. Mutually assured destruction was definitely one of the biggest turning points, I would say, in modern history, but it's something that only works when you have, I would even argue, a low number of rational actors. The Soviet Union had a sense of self-preservation. They did not cross the embargo line that Kennedy placed at Cuba, which would have led to all-out nuclear war. However, if you give all 193 countries, let's name a few, Iran, North Korea, Somalia, Egypt, just to name a few, that are irrational and not only have political ends, as my point out, but also have religious ends, which are much more complex and often a lot less easy to negotiate and debate with, that creates a very big problem, not only for the United States, but to everybody that they consider a threat. You simply open up the entire world to annihilation that is not even the fault of any major power, that is simply the result of an irrational regime wanting to take control. Mutually assured destruction will not work if every country on it, is that 3 already?
I'm so sorry, that's 1.
That's 1?
Yeah, so you have 1 minute left.
I have 1 minute left, okay. It works for just the United States and the Soviet Union or a small number of countries. It does not work in a large number of countries. We now have an alternative. I reiterate Project Zeus. Dropping rods from space does the same damage, no radioactive fallout, and no other country, not even the Soviets who have rocket capabilities, have the ability to do this. And no other country, with the exception of first world powers that we are aligned with, has space capability. So this is something that the United States can use to maintain global supremacy without much worry. I already touched on religious ends, and I'd like to point out, it is also easy to eliminate the rest of the nukes from the world. We know which countries have them, we know what groups have them, and even underneath 15 feet of lead blocked from every kind of surveillance that we have, satellites can still penetrate the ground and find huge sources of radioactivity. They can be tracked, they can be stopped. We have an alternative, and it quite honestly, while the benefits of nuclear power definitely show themselves, having nuclear weapons is something that no longer presents itself as necessary to all of society. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mike. You did an excellent job of really proving why nuclear weapons should never be used. They have horrible, detrimental impacts. You pointed out the folly of nuclear weapons fantastically, and I think we could all agree in this room that in a perfect world, nuclear weapons would simply not exist. Unfortunately, they do exist, and therefore, rationally, reasonably, we must do our best to ensure that they are never again used on planet Earth. The way to do that is not by banning nuclear weapons, it's by spreading nuclear weapons. I touched on it earlier in the debate. That creates second strike capability for states, which means that when a first strike is fired at them, they will have the opportunity to fire a second strike at the rogue state, and that's going to influence the minds of every policymaker with their finger on the trigger of a nuclear weapon with mutually assured destruction. And that logic is going to keep the world a safe place where nuclear weapons are never again used. We've seen it since 1945 when the bomb was first used. We'll see it again for the rest of our lifetime if we continue to spread nuclear weapons and if the United States maintains its ability to make sure that those stay out of the hands of rogue states, but also that rogue states know full well that if they even so think of using nuclear weapons, they're going to be punished and held responsible for doing so with extreme force. And also, finally, the extreme difficulty of instituting such a ban. If we could guarantee that every nuclear weapon was in fact eliminated, we could destroy them, we could take away that fuse in hopes that the bomb would never go off, I would sign up for that program. But as we see through climate change, through all these international cooperation is very difficult, as we all know, to get through. States do not like to lose their sovereignty. The United States is not going to have the UN tell it what to do. Neither is China, neither is Japan. It's an unworkable solution, it's the wrong solution, and that's why I don't think nuclear weapons should be banned. Thank you.
Thank you.